What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're doing day 2. That's right, rounds 2 and 3 of this 2025 NFL mock draft with trades. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Go check out round 1, but we are still going to be doing a quick little recap. Below my face is my board. Yes, it's changed even since yesterday, and if you guys want to understand why, A, I'll talk about it, but B, and the best way you can understand it, beyond me talking about it, is going over and follow me over on Twitter, because I actually post all 22 clips from when I'm actually watching these players. Can't do it on YouTube because of copyright reasons. So go over there, absolutely free. Go to that link tree, 2 clicks away from doing everything you want, including our sponsor, UnderDog Fantasy, which you can bet on college football. You can bet on damn near anything, even PGA, UFC. It's honestly great. The one time I've actually won a bet there, it was a UFC bet. So, I mean, what does that say about me, except for the fact that you guys get to see me lose some cash, but we do it out of some good spirits. Do it responsibly, legally, and it is a daily fantasy site, not a sports book, so people in Texas, like me, actually get to legally bet. Let's get into this, though. Let's do a quick little recap. We'll talk about maybe a placeholder if we have them. Of course, the trades as well. We had a quick little trade from 1 to 3, just so the Jaguars could jump the Bengals for Will Johnson, leaving Will Campbell as the other option there for the Patriots. That was who I wanted to go after with the number 1 pick, but the more I think about it, the more I think Josh Simmons might be even more of a tackle, but luckily he ended up being the second tackle. Before I regraded him, I just felt like there was something inside of me that said, hey, this guy deserves to be a top 10 pick, and the more I studied him, the more I absolutely agreed. I think that there are a couple issues that I have with him, and I'm going to actually save that analysis for another first-round mock draft, or even when I do my tackles video, because I'm regrading all the tackles. Also graded finally Cam Williams. We'll talk about him again another day. But we had a trade up here, New York to New York, so that the Giants can get Milroe. I think Milroe has the highest potential talent, especially with his athleticism, and I think Dable can actually leverage that better than what we actually see nowadays, because Daniel Jones, I truly believe, is that bad. Of course, I know my Raiders fans, they love Ashton Genty, and they're like, damn, I wish we got a quarterback. No, Joe, just wait. Just wait. We might have gotten him in yesterday's video, so we'll talk about that in a second. We had the Bears trade up and jump, technically the Eagles, but a plethora of other teams that'd be looking for a talent like Kelvin Banks Jr. He just fell because 6'4", possibly a guard for the Bears. That flexibility is perfectly fine. You can have Karan Amagaji as a left tackle, who's a 3rd-round pick last year, and Kelvin Banks as a guard if you want, or flip him around. You actually get to choose now, so that's a great opportunity for you guys. But continuing on, part of that trade back ended up being Colson and Loveland going to the Jets. And my tight ends are actually going to be shifting, because I did end up not reevaluating, but reshifting the weights on my grading system, because I'm starting to realize in the NFL, things like route running, they are important, but I think that after the catchability is truly what separates the top tight ends. You primarily are able just to get open. Separation and run after the catchability, I think, are the most translatable traits, in my opinion. And then, of course, you have your athletic traits. But continuing on, Colson Loveland's a beast. We will be having a potential new tight end 1, though. Keep that in mind. And I think you know who it is if I'm talking about run after the catchability. We'll talk about him today. But of course, continuing on, we had a trade up Tampa Bay and Houston. They ended up going after Walter Nolan. He is due for a reevaluation. He is definitely on my next group of guys. Of course, ended up having that trade back, getting Mikael Williams for the Buccaneers. But we had Washington trade back because, yes, the Raiders did end up getting their quarterback as well. I thought Cam Ward was too damn good a value there at pick 29. But we're here at pick 33, 4 minutes in. Let's get on with it. So Patriots, we ended up trading back and getting extra draft capital as well, and getting ourselves a star tackle in Will Campbell. So that's a good place to be. Again, if you guys actually see stars next to players' names, those are players that have 2024 evaluations, or 2023, excuse me, that are actually guys who I feel will be lower than where they're actually currently ranked. I wanted to add that in for my first round guys, the guys in green, because I think you guys deserve some form of transparency in that regard. But for the Patriots here at pick number 33, I think edge rusher, it's pretty obvious that's the other position to target for this team. And, you know, there's some good weapons available here in terms of what you can get with Donovan Azuruwaku. The question is, do you want to go after someone who is in that 240-pound range, or I actually might even want to trade back again. And looking at the guys who are still here, you got Shedeur Sanders on the board. Absolutely. People were kind of mad that he didn't go in the first round. Understandably so. He could have went at pick 29. But for me, I look at the talent of the quarterbacks of this class, and it's sometimes just very tough, especially when people aren't fully confident these guys are guaranteed starters, to be able to select certain quarterbacks over others. So I went after the most physically talented and the ones that I thought might translate the best. But continuing, you still got guys like Shedeur Sanders here, and then AlexCBarbour, Donovan Ezeuruwaku, and looking at teams that potentially skipped on edge rusher in round number 1. Luckily, we actually ended up sniping for the teams I was actually thinking of jumping up with. We actually got edge rushers in the first. So I don't think edge rusher is going to be the prime position to target. Is there any offensive line, defensive interior that we should be aware of? Dalen Walker's here. I don't really think that he's going to go before Derek Harmon at this point, though. Derek Harmon's been an absolute beast. So I just think that we can disregard that. Bottom line, I'm looking at AlexCBarbour here. That's the guy who I think can really take a step up above the majority of the other talents. I mean, yes, you got Trey Harris, Ty Felton, Ricky White, Deion Burks. All these are my guys. Well, Trey Harris is not my guy. Everybody loves Trey Harris. But Felton, White, and Burks are my guys. But if you're looking at a style like AlexCBarbour, it's Higgins and Harris. Those are the two other types of big-bodied receivers that you certainly do want. And there are some teams that should be looking to be able to address said positions. The Titans being one of them. I also do think that the Browns should be looking to get aggressive here. And the Browns in the first ended up going after Travis Hunter. So they got their weapon, and now it's kind of tough because you're not going to move up for another player like that. I think the Patriots are screwed. They're screwed in their position, but I think that's okay. Because you got guys like Shamar Stewart, Jack Sawyer, etc., who are doing a great job this year. And I'm actually going to give love to Jack Sawyer with a 19.1% pass rush win rate. And just being a consistent run defender as well. The numbers might not suggest that with 6.6 run percentage, run stop percentage. I still see with my eyes, because there's a qualitative and a quantitative part of analysis, that he is worth this type of pick. I haven't personally graded him to be this high, but if you're looking at someone who's going to be consistently putting 100% effort in, has a strong foundation of run defense, and has now proven to improve as a pass rusher year over year, that's exactly what Jack Sawyer is. So shout out to him. He's gotten better every year, and I can't go against that. I mean, at the end of the day, he's been getting better every year, and that's exactly a trait that I want to see. At pick number 34 for the Bengals, you are in a perfect position for AlexCBarbour. I mean, the first round we ended up going after our edge rusher, Nick Scorton, and I love that. I also think defensive interior, corner, there's a couple positions that we absolutely can address. So let's pull all of them up really quick. And to be fair, it's kind of sexy to say going after Dalen Walker, going after, they have Derek Harmon down pretty far, going after Derek Harmon. But I don't really think you're going to be looking at just purely a pass rusher. Of course, if you want to look at Dalen Walker, it's not like he's been necessarily unbelievable, apart from like that run stop rate. But again, people do tend to run at Dalen Walker for some reason. Don't know what's up with that. I will actually go after Dalen here. And the reasoning is because you'd rarely get someone who's 6'6", 340 pounds, who has the talent that Dalen does. I have an issue with his leverage. I mean, this guy, for some reason, stands straight up. Like, he could end up, like, getting down and getting dirty and being an absolute beast when it comes to leverage, because when you are that size, if you have proper balance, not many people can control you. But when you do stand that tall, it's very easy to control you, very easy to get you on your butt. I think that that's a big learning tool that will at least allow him to be available at 34. If he had mastered that by this time, he'd be a top 10 pick. But that's just not something I truly believe is a guaranteed translation. At pick 35 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we traded up, gave some future draft capital, but I mean, look, we still have a 2 third-round picks on top of already moving up, and I think that's going to be a really, really big plus to us. But I also will have to review, because I'm pretty damn sure the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to have to remember this too, this pick is Washington. So we're going to have to reevaluate that, but none of these second-round picks for the meantime are going to be something that we have to worry about. But for the Jaguars, I'm going to be looking at offensive line here. You got Wyatt Milam. He's a solid tackle, but he's going to be probably a guard. I'm going to go after my next best tackle, and that's going to be Jack Nelson here. He's, again, coming off a great week, but he's also somebody 6'7", 312, someone who I think has the exact build that you're looking for at the NFL tackle level. So I'm going to be going after Jack Nelson here. You got your star cornerback, and then you also have your star tackle. For the Browns, we ended up going after AlexCBarbour. Let's complete it. Let's do it. Shedeur Sanders is going to be replacing Deshaun Watson here in Cleveland. Not a sexy location. I hope to God that Dion doesn't get like grouchy and say like my son's not playing in Cleveland. But if Travis Hunter's there, why not bring Shedeur there, right? Like, I don't see an issue with that, and I don't think you will either. At pick 37 for the Carolina Panthers, we went after edge rusher in round number 1. I still think wide receiver is a proper position to address here in round number 2 because Deontay Johnson is going to be gone. I think that's going to be probably where you want to focus. I do think quarterback is not off the table. Now, the question is, how much do you believe in Bryce? For a second-round pick, I do think you can start moving the needle a little bit and seeing, when you got guys like Quinn Ewers, Drew Allar on the board, I think that you're comfortable enough to take a shot. And Quinn Ewers coming back this week, and he's playing in the Cotton Bowl, the showdown, and I think it's the Red River Showdown. Who gives a shit? It's going to be here in Dallas. That's all I know. And those tickets are absolutely insanely priced for Quinn Ewers coming back and Oklahoma not being all that great. So let's just say I will be watching it, but not in person. But regardless, Quinn Ewers, I am going to be very positive in the fact that I think he's going to do a damn good job. I love the high-end throws from Quinn Ewers. I want him to be a little bit more consistent. Pick number 38 for the Bears, we ended up trading up, losing our third-round pick in that trade-up, but we ended up getting Kelvin Banks. I think that's going to be a massive addition for this team. Now, looking at pick number 38, I think the proper idea for edge rusher, you could go Donovan Ezeuruwaku here, and I don't think I'd blame you too much. But Darrell Taylor has just been so damn solid. Don't break something that's working. Just enjoy it. Like, enjoy the fruits of your labor, man. To me, it's going to be interior offensive line, or it's going to be, Donovan Jackson's available. God damn. I mean, both those guard spots are certainly available. We're going to be going Donovan Jackson here, but I was also going to consider Derek Harmon for some extra help there with Gervin Dexter's been doing a phenomenal job. Let's go after Donovan Jackson. I mean, going after two high-class offensive linemen, Donovan Jackson, Kelvin Banks, and you do need two guards. Like, let's not go crazy here. Let's not act a little bit out of the ordinary. It's a need. It's a need. So you got Banks, you got Amagaji, you got Jackson. Still can address that center position, but there are some solid centers with good value in this class. I think that might be a little bit. I mean, also, if Donovan Jackson could snap a ball, I'm sticking his ass at center too. I don't give a shit. This guy's an absolute baller. It's just BPA at this point. At pick 39 for the Titans, we went after Cam Williams, a right tackle out of Texas. He actually does have a grade. Hello. That is not supposed to be looking like that. Where is he at on my board? I'm pretty sure. Damn, I kind of forgot where I put him. Oh, he's right here. Number 54 on my board. Good player. High upside. He also has shown a lot of how raw he is. I think he should return to school, but that's a conversation for another day. We're going wide receiver here. Io Maynor, Harris. Higgins even. I say even though I have him above both of those receivers. I think realistically those two receivers will go before him. I think the Titans ended up having some success last time. They drafted a wide receiver from Mississippi in the second round who is really physical, really good after the catch. But this time, keep him. Trey Harris is going to be the pick. I just really love the fit. And I know you guys do too. Pick number 40. I know we could have technically traded back, but I'm at the spot right now where I don't see too many trade up candidates. So regardless, we're back with the Miami Dolphins, and I always wait till round number 2 to get that offensive lineman. You guys know it hurts me inside, but we went after Mason Graham in round 1. Winning through the trenches, super duper key. Now, I'm just going to go after Tate Ratledge because he's probably going to be my highest graded left guard in the class. And, I mean, he's just uber consistent. You can't not like the guy. He's been banged up a little bit. Fairchild's been actually having a really good year overall. He's been doing a great job, but I think Ratledge is legitimately unbelievably reliable. And right now, you don't need the flashiest player like the Jaden Roberts of the world. You just need the damn good ones. And don't overthink it. Tate Ratledge is on the board. Don't blame yourself for wanting to take him. He's number 42 on my board, so right up there with the value that I am certainly there for. And of course, with all the players I have listed as guys to potentially slip. Makes a lot of sense. For the Jets at 41, this is an easy pick for me. He's still on the board. Donovan Ezeuwaku. It's perfect size combination, size, speed, and he has that perfect rip, that cross chop that you absolutely adore. But with Hassan Reddick being an absolute B-otch, we want to replace him. And, Donovan Ezeuwaku is a perfect guy to do that. He's been absolutely going off. You want to see some stats here. I always click on this so you guys at least get to see something that I have to pay for. But I mean, like, statistically speaking, this guy's a first-round pick. But I have a Twitter post out on him. The one thing I did see that is a little concerning, sometimes his feet are a little bit slow. He kind of is a little elongated in his movements. I want to be a little bit more polished in that regard. But overall, this dude's an absolute beast. Pick number 42 for the Washington Commanders. We actually didn't address anything yet because we traded out. And we got ourselves pick number 42. And I know we actually have another third-round pick, by the way, because of that Philadelphia Eagles trade, which, again, bear with me. I want to just power through these second-round picks. That's where the real money is going to be at. If we start doing trades, like if we actually have a trade, it's going to be accurate. I promise you. I pray that it works. But now this is where I feel comfortable with Tacario Davis. He ended up slipping a bit for me. Where's he out on my board right now? Tacario's at 50. So he's very, very smart. Change of direction's a bit scary. I think he might end up having to be a defensive back rather than just a pure corner. But really long arms. We've seen he's just a little bit more on a down stretch at the moment. Kansas State game was not good. But I'm going to believe in the upside. And by the way, I'm going to have Ravel as well as Perkins returning to school. So I don't know where they ended up putting Harold Perkins. Like Harold Perkins, Siobhan Ravel, I'm having them technically both return. They could end up coming out, but for the sake of this, I'd prefer to highlight some other players. At 43 for the Arizona Cardinals, we ended up going after a really, really great edge rusher in the first, and Jalen Walker, who I have into my top 5 at this point, and he's number 6. He'll be number 5. I just ended up having Josh Simmons go up big time. We're going to go after defensive interior. I know, hate to be boring, but I want to give a shout out to Derek Harmon. Again, 19.4% pass rush win rate. I think that he's been doing this consistently since Michigan State. And if you guys are like, well, the hell? Like, who knew about this guy at Michigan State? Like, he was one of those guys where, and I encourage you when you guys are watching this as well, if you have an interest in the draft, which I assume you do, it's why you're watching a random video about the draft. When you're watching and you see someone pop off to you, you're like, wow, I really like that guy. It doesn't matter who it is. I mean, you might just have not realized that that's a top 5 player that everybody already knows about. Write their name down. That's how I started. I started watching. I saw Kadarius Toney return a punt. Like that was my first time where I was like, huh, this guy moves differently. Of course, it's kind of sad story what happened. Obviously, his career just took, relatively a dump. But, just being, I owe it to Kadarius Toney for at least intriguing me in college football. Yes, that's when I started. I know, I was a late bloomer, but that's okay. Derek Harmon was one of those guys where I was watching offensive lineman versus Michigan State defense, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And, we're going to give him the credit he deserves. He does not have an official grade, so that's why I cannot tell you exactly where he is at. But at pick number 44 for the Indianapolis Colts. Boundary corner, super key. We ended up drafting one in the first round, however, with Ben Morrison. Hallelujah. I know that off-ball linebacker could be a big win here. However, I just don't really see the value in it because you guys have already proven to be able to get really solid linebacker value in like the third and beyond. For me, I'm going to be looking at the highest potential player here. And again, it's going to be sucky because I do like going Nick Emmanwori a lot for you guys. He's a guy who I have listed as potentially going to be slipping, even though he's had a really good year. I don't think he's number 12 overall on my board. He might end up being probably in like that 30 to 35 range. And that's perfect for this team right here. 6'3", 227 pounds. We'll probably be running the 4.3s as well. And he has great ball skills. I love him to death. Now you get yourself a dynamic backfield and no-fly zones is how this NFL works. At pick 45 for the Niners, we ended up going after an edge rusher in round number 1, Princely Umanmielen. I really still would want to look at defensive interior. Aeneas Peoples is the only guy, but he's just really small, 290 pounds. You got to be a little bit more intentional when you're drafting him. And again, Siobhan Ravel is going to be returning in this. But I am actually going to draft one of my favorite corners in this class, Davison. It's not Igbinosun. I think it's Igbinosun. I think that's how you pronounce it. I ended up watching. I'm like, I got to get this right eventually. It's going to be Davison Igbinosun. And we're using Jordan Hancock as the placeholder because personally, I'm not going to draft him in the first 3 rounds. That's just me. So we'll use an Ohio State placeholder for my number 18 player on my board, Davison Igbinosun. Pick number 46 for the New York Giants. Ended up trading up to draft our quarterback in Jalen Milroe in round number 1. Here in round number 2, I don't think running backs off the table. A lot of solid backs. I just really, after those first 2, I have my concerns for the meantime. Amari Hampton, a lot of people love him. Not there yet, but I do love the idea at this point of getting yourself a quality wide receiver 2. And AlexCBarbour is exactly that. I mean, I think that his physicality means that you don't always have to throw it up to Malik Neighbors, and get yourself a quality receiver that's reliable. You got Malik, you got Alec. Let's call it a day. I did just trade, actually, the Philadelphia Eagles, their own pick 79 to the Washington Commanders. We'll also have to do that for the Matt Judon trade. So keep that in mind. I'm going to try to be doing this on the fly, but that's what these mock drafts are. They're fun, and they're also a little bit more sporadic, but that is what we love about these. At pick number 47, though, for the Eagles, we drafted an edge in round number 1 in James Pierce. Here in round 2, I'm drafting a tight end all day. It's going to be Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State, 260 pounds, quality route runner. He's gotten better every single year, and I need him to get like 450 yards so I win a bet. So praying that Tyler Warren continues to be as good as he is, but honestly, a fantastic player nonetheless. At pick number 48 for the New Orleans Saints. So we ended up going after a defensive back in the first round, the one that was just highlighted on my board in Malachi Starks. So at pick number 48, you could look at a quarterback here. I don't think that's out of the question. However, there is a position that I think you can upgrade that you haven't really focused too heavily on. Ooh, we got some new tight ends in the mix. Hello. Nice. We're going to go Harold Fannin here. I'm surprised that PFF has him ranked at like 95th. But this dude's just been absolutely baller. He boosted his contested catch rate up too. Good for him. This guy's just been so consistent. He's like legitimately the definition of reliable, great after the catch. If you want a tight end that is after the catch, this is kind of your blue chip type of guy. He is to that level. Continuing on though, at pick number 49, we have the Chicago Bears again. And I'm probably going to trade out of this spot if I can, just because I want to get more picks with the Bears. We've drafted 2 offensive linemen. Defensive interior, I just don't really think it's worth it at this point. Again, my next guy is Aeneas Peebles at this point. So I personally would feel pretty comfortable moving out. I know I think there's an Akron defensive interior, or a Toledo defensive interior, excuse me, that he's very, very underrated. I know Mel Kiper was talking about him earlier today, but I personally like the idea of moving out of this spot. You got some very, very talented defensive backs on the board, edge rushers as well, and even quarterbacks. But I think one of the biggest bright spots right now is the quality of offensive tackle that's available. And one of them is Blake Miller. But if you want to go after a hybrid, you got Jonas Savaiinaea, or Savaiinaea. I don't know how to say his proper name. Don't take me as the number one guy for that, but also Armand Membu, who I absolutely adore. So if you're looking for interior offensive line, you got some very good options here, which technically the Bears could have waited for, but we're talking about going from a top 10 player on my board to somebody who's going to be far lower than that. So don't worry about that. I mean, we're going to be looking at some teams, though, that certainly can be looking in that realm. I know the Seahawks already drafted their right tackle, even though ended up reevaluating Jones. He's a little bit lower on my board than I would have loved. But continuing on, I do think that there should be some teams looking for, there's not that many teams needing offensive line at the moment, huh? God dang. I know the Chiefs are in the mood, but I don't think the Chiefs need to move up that much. Holy Toledo. But I do think with the quality of quarterback on the board, I think there's some certain teams that should get a little bit aggressive here. And one of those, I mean, yes, you can end up getting like Carson Beck, Nussmeier, Moss. But I think Drew Allar is really the star of the show here, and I can see a couple teams being in the mood to move up for him. One of those is being the Seahawks. I also think the Steelers are in the mix. But on top of that, You could even justify a team like the Rams getting very aggressive. They don't care about their picks. That's just what they do. But I'm actually going to move up with the Steelers because I think the Steelers, I know that it's not just Justin's fault, right? It's not. But when you can get Drew Allar, I'm going to take it. That's the way I roll. And technically, we could end up essentially air quotes fleecing the Bears by being able to flip our picks this way, but I'm only going to send 121, and for a 3-pick jump, that's honestly a net negative for us. I'm going to get 182 in reverse. So we're going to offer the trade, and we're not even going to force it. It gets accepted, and the Steelers move up. We already drafted Tetero and McMillan. Now we're going to get Drew Allar to take our team to the Super Bowl. Remember, both of the quarterbacks are on 1-year deals. Justin Fields has not yet proved to be someone who's worth giving a 5-year contract, and Drew Allar has gotten better exponentially over this year. Like, even though the stats don't necessarily say it, he's just done such a better job. He's really doing an excellent job, especially when you look at the completion. He was doing a really poor job of placement last year. He's taken big steps up, and I am a big believer in his capabilities. My number 45 player in the draft. Pick number 50 for the Green Bay Packers. End up going after Denzel Burke in round number 1. Here in round 2, I actually really like the idea of going after someone either like JT Tuimoloau or Kamen Rucker. 2 different styles of player, but Josiah Stewart is so damn good. He just does not fit. You want someone who's going to be a little bit bigger and a little more physical. Josiah Stewart, I'm so glad that he got brought into the mix because he was one of my guys coming into the year. But Landon Jackson's coming on too. He's been very, very consistent. Like, I got to give this guy credit. And he's a freak show. I feel like the Packers are pretty damn solid when it comes to leveraging unique talent. And Landon Jackson's a lot more polished than Lucas Van Ness was. So we'll take him and bring him into the mix. Now you got Denzel Burke as well as Landon Jackson. Continuing on for the Los Angeles Chargers, we ended up going after defensive interior in Kenneth Grant. Now, continuing on, I think that you could end up getting a potential weapon here, but at the same time, you do have some really, really solid options on your team. Tight end, not plentiful enough in terms of talent at the moment, so I do think center could be on your market. I also think boundary corner could be as well, and you could try to leverage your, you guys like physicality. You know what? I got to see Azariah Thomas in person. I'm going to go after it. Azariah Thomas is going to be my corner here. Fentrell Cypress is going to be the placeholder, but my number 11 player currently on my board is Azariah Thomas. I got to see him in person versus SMU, and he ended up blowing me away just as much as he did the time before. He's 6'2", 198 pounds, extremely fluid as an athlete, very physical. The definition of what you're going to be looking for in a Harbaugh style system. Pick number 52 for the Chicago Bears. We ended up moving back, and I didn't take any players I probably would have taken for the Bears, so that's a good sign for us. And I think this is the prime opportunity for us to be able to draft that safety replacement when we're looking at the options, you're looking at probably wanting to get someone to grow and develop for a year underneath Kevin Byard. And that's Keon Saub. Again, poor performance versus Georgia, and that just sucks because it's someone who I really, really love. But when you end up looking at actually what Saub is capable of doing, apart from that Georgia game where he got absolutely roasted, he's done a very, very solid job. And I think that you can't dismiss the talent. You can also accept the fact that guys have off days, and that was just the wrong day to have an off day. Keon Saub's going to be my pick there. At pick 53 for the Seattle Seahawks, Keon Saub was probably going to be my selection there, so that's why I also felt a very glaring needed to go after him. But I also like physicality on the Seahawks defense. I feel like Kevin Winston will be perfectly fine as a consolation prize. We got the right tackle already figured out. You could go after a QB here if you want. However, I don't really feel that desperate for one. Of course, every quarterback that you take before the Rams disarms them a little bit more, but Kevin Winston's going to be my pick. You could look at the linebackers because, if not mistaken, a couple of your linebackers are on 1-year deals, but at the same time, Kevin Winston is just going to be an absolute baller for you. You fix the right side of the line, then you also ended up getting yourself a star defensive captain. Pick number 54 for the Denver Broncos. We ended up going after Luther Burden in round number 1. I'm going to look at these offensive tackles I highlighted earlier. And to be fair, Josh Connerly is he's one of the most talented tackles that you'll look at. He ended up, I believe, giving up all 3 of those pressures in only one of the games. So I'll give Josh Connerly some credit here. He might be 6'4", but he's a hyper athlete and somebody who is very much deserving of a chance in a system that gets him on the move. Also, guess where he's from? The same school that your quarterback's from. So instant chemistry there. He did a fantastic job protecting Bo Nix before. I'm going to trust him to do it again. Pick number 55 for the Dallas Cowboys. We ended up going after Isaiah Bond in round number 1. Excellent value for him. Here in round number 2, I do think this is one of the few teams I trust for Aeneas Peebles. Now, I will potentially take him to a team like the Bills, or you can even take him to a versatile team like the Ravens. However, I, at this point, don't need to explain very much more. Osa Digizua up for a contract. You're getting someone who has a 20% pass rush win rate. Like, that's insane. And he's going up, sure, against Stanford and stuff. That can definitely boost it. But even at 15%, that's definitely respectable enough to be in the consideration at 55. At pick number 56 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we traded back and ended up getting Michael Williams. So here at pick 56, let's evaluate the other options. You got linebackers galore at the moment, so that's pretty damn awesome. I feel like that's probably the best route to go. You know, people are saying that you are desperate for a boundary corner. I don't believe so. I don't. Tight end wise, we've already depleted the 3 tight ends I really, really like. And so I don't really see anything. Running back, again, I like a lot of guys. So I personally feel like you're going to get a real quality guy at 88. That's just my logic. So again, we've already addressed that edge rushing position. I think linebacker is the next place to go because you get the best linebacker in the class at this point. Danny Stutzman has his ups and downs. Unfortunately, I mean, you can see it. He hasn't been doing much better week after week after week. Jack Kaiser, literally the exact same story. I still love the guy. I still do. He ended up regrading as a top 20 player on my board. And you know what? Oh, but I love Barrett Carter. Barrett Carter's well deserving of this. Fuck it. Let's go. Barrett Carter. All right, you're going to be my selection there. Also has those pass rushing upside as well. Good in coverage, plays larger than he is. Let's continue on with the Buffalo Bills, who also need a linebacker, defense interior linebacker. We're going to look at those primarily. Ended up in the first round going after Emeka Egbuka, which gives us that capability to go after any player that we do want. Jahad Campbell had a rough game versus Vandy. I feel like he's one of the main reasons they lost. So I'm going to hold off on selecting him at this point. I really do like Deontay Lawson, who he's also been a little bit more up and down. But personally, I want to go after someone who's just a little bit more experienced, and that's going to be Danny Stutzman. Pick number 58 for the Baltimore Ravens. We went after offensive lineman with what? Ariante Irizarry in the first? God, that's such a steal. And here at this point, let's go after some edge talent. Like, there's some good guys on the board. Kamen Rucker and Josiah Stewart. We failed at Michigan once in the second round. We're not failing this time. Josiah Stewart is going to be the prime selection. Could have been there for the Bills, but I like getting guys a little more size for the Bills. I feel like Danny Stutzman was getting linebacker 2 versus like edge 10 is a little bit better value for a team that's pretty damn desperate for some linebacker talent. Josiah Stewart's a stud, though. Pick number 59 for the Atlanta Falcons. We are actually... Did they actually finally trade that to... No, what the hell? It says remaining picks 59. Oh, did they actually trade it to the Patriots? Did they actually update? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to double check with the Commanders. Yeah, I ended up trading that pick to the Commanders just to double check. I was like, damn, dude, I'm going to have to do all of this? Like, I don't know why they, how the hell do I get out of this trade? There we go. I was worried that I'd have to do it for all of it, but yeah, thank God they did that. So, with that being said, this is a prime opportunity to trade back. We ended up going after, an edge rusher in round 1 and LT Overton. Love that. Wide receiver is going to be a great choice at this point, but there's a lot of really reliable options that I feel perfectly fine moving back and kind of being chill about. So teams that could certainly use some talent. We got the Lions right here who need edge. Same thing with the Commanders, though. The Commanders need some edge talent. They moved back. They got Tacario Davis. So you got 2 teams here that are vying for edge. Even the Bills, they could say, hey, man, we lost out on Josiah Stewart, but, I mean, with 2 teams needing edge, let's get a little aggressive here. And I'd respect that 100%. It's going to be great for the Falcons, too, again, losing that selection. So the Bills making a move up here. It's also a team that is in championship mode. For this range, I think pick number 169 would be pretty adequate. Who gives a shit though? 169, 136. Do your own math. Do your own math. You can change it. It's not going to affect the mock draft. So with the Bills, we're going to end up selecting an edge rusher here. And that is going to be actually Kamen Rucker. I'm going to go against exactly what Kamen's up to 265. Are you kidding me? Holy Toledo. He came back for a couple reps, and I think it was on like 11 reps. He got still 2 pressures, so good for him. This dude's an absolute stud, but the class for edge rusher is very, very underrated at this point. I do like it a lot. Pick number 60 for the Detroit Lions. We end up going after interior offensive line in round number 1. This is going to be my one placeholder edge rusher, and if you guys know who that is going to be Tyler Barron, edge rusher out of Miami. Antoine Powell-Ryland, I've heard a lot of good things about him, but I personally don't have a grade on him. He's not going to be in the top 100. So Tyler Barron, edge rusher out of the U. No all-22 currently out there for the U, so TBD on his actual full grade, but he's well deserving of a second-round pick based on his play so far. Pick 61 for the Washington Commanders. I could look at a right tackle at the moment, especially with all the quality players on the board. I wouldn't mind that at all. I also do think, though, that you could look at that edge group because there is one more player here. There's one more guy that I really love. Technically 2, because Shamar Stewart is very, very, very talented. But JT Tuimoloau, I still see it with him. I still do. And, look at this. He's pretty much 75th percentile in both pass rush and run stop rate. So I really like that. That's just quality and great size as well. I know there's 4 edges that go in a row, but this is also a very depleted class. These are high value positions with players who actually have experience and talent. When you have classes like that, it's the best way to prioritize that talent, especially when it's a need. Pick number 62 for the Houston Texans. Also, good thing that the freaking Bills jumped, huh? Look at that. We got 4 edges in a row. But at pick number 62 for the Texans, we moved up for Walter Nolan. And at this selection, not many positions I think this team desperately needs, but I would love to see Parker Brailsford, based on how physical he is, being able to get a shot at either guard or center. I mean, I don't know why he's graded this poorly. I think he's done a phenomenal job overall, but he's up to 290. He's an absolute beast, and he's easily the best. You could also go after a future tackle essentially here in Jaden Roberts, but you're rolling the dice. Actually, you know what? Let's trade back. I don't want to give Jaden Roberts to the Chiefs. I mean, I do if I'm the Chiefs. I'm desperate for it. But who needs a guard? Who needs a guard? Anybody need a guard? You need a guard. Technically, you could go for a tackle there for the Browns if you want to take Jaden Roberts as said tackle. You know what? We could get aggressive here. Philly could get aggressive. I know that we've already spent plenty of picks for Philly. And in this round, we got Tyler Warren. But if you think about what Philly needs, it's probably another linebacker. But to be fair, you guys have done a really good job with the quality linebacker you have. I'm going to give this deal to Philly on actually a pretty cheap deal because I'm also fucking over my main competitor. I need Jaden Roberts gone. If I'm calling Philly up, I'm going to say, hey, can you give us a future 4th round pick for this? That's how I'm going to do it. There's a future 4th in here. Again, you could adjust the draft capital. But Philly moves up, and you're not selecting Jaden Roberts to be a guard. You're moving him to tackle. This is going to be the understudy to Lane Johnson. And I know that you guys are doing a solid job with Fred Johnson there, but Jaden Roberts has the potential to be an all-pro. He just needs time to really, really learn the game because he gets extremely aggressive and he needs to go to Stoutland U. I think this guy might be one of the best blockers in all of the NFL if he gets a chance. He's the most strong competitor. He's actually the strongest player in the Alabama locker room. At pick 63 for the Kansas City Chiefs, kind of got shellacked there by the Philadelphia Eagles, but that's okay. Trey Smith's going to be gone, but there are other positions we can address, including a tackle position. We could go Jonas Savaiinaea here, who could play tackle or guard. I was talking about those hybrids there. I really do like multiple of these options. Now, Armand Membu might be a little bit more up your alley, right? Kansas City, Missouri, going right down the road to a player with a lot of experience there in Missouri. I'm actually going to look at that option. And again, we do have a pick here at 71, but with the quantity of really talented players kind of dwindling, I'm going to take the shot here. Armand Membu, guard/tackle out of Missouri at 63. At pick 64 for the Atlanta Falcons, we had that move back, and we already drafted edge rusher for this team. We're going to go after wide receiver, and there's a lot of really good ones on the table. However, Ricky White just came off a fantastic week where he ended up having over 100 yards, but also 2 punt blocks. And that is an absolute gamer. He's somebody who I have in my top 40. They're at 37. Pick number 65 for the New England Patriots. We've gone after edge rusher because we got stuck in a little bit of a corner because we just couldn't get a guy. And Jack Sawyer, he kind of feels like a New England Patriot anyways. But Will Campbell, Jack Sawyer. Here at pick number 65, I don't see guard as the need. I don't understand why guard's the need. Like, it's kind of bugging me, seeing the guard out of the corner of my eye. A little bit buggy. But at number 65, I'm going to be looking at defensive interior still. Based on the guys who are available, I think this is the prime opportunity to go after TJ Sanders. He's been very, very efficient. Ended up getting, he's just been very, very solid overall. So I love South Carolina defenders anyway. TJ Sanders is going to be that guy to add some extra defensive interior pressure. Pick 66 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Probably would have been my selection there for you guys as well. But so far, we have addressed defensive interior as well as edge rusher. Let's focus on the offense. And with T. Higgins most likely not returning, we're going to go after Jaden Higgins, who has a 60 damn near out of every 3 contested balls. He has 2 that he ends up catching, 0% drop rate. And then I think he's also caught a touchdown in 7 straight games. Sick. I love this guy. He's my number 33 player in the class, and he'll only get higher. Pick number 67 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got our corner. We got our offensive lineman as well. We haven't traded up at all with them yet. Or apart from that number 1 overall pick. So I also think this is a prime opportunity to go after those offensive linemen. We're talking about someone who could be guard, tackle, versatile, and especially that guard focus. And that's Jonah Savania here. He's gritty. He's someone who's just going to be, I love the fact that his pass blocking grade is higher this year than it was even last year. But it's going to be Jonah. It's going to be Wyatt. Wyatt Milam's a beast, though. I got to give this dude credit. Let's go after Wyatt Milam because he's a true left tackle, but he's having 32 or 31-inch arms. He's going to be a guard. He's just going to be consistent. So I'm going to give Wyatt Milam the benefit of the doubt. He's been doing a fantastic job this year. Leaving the Cleveland Browns here at 68, who need a left tackle to be in an interesting situation. But I will say, Anthony Belton's been a monster this year. I don't like how he performed versus Clemson, even though statistically he was fine. It was the penalties that gave him the poor grade. The dude got kicked out of the game for spitting on somebody. Ended up coming back and having a 90 pass blocking grade versus Wake Forest. Not the NIU game. I'm talking about the Wake Forest game. So shout out to Anthony Belton. Left tackle as well. It's a big position of need for this team that might not re-sign Jedrick Wills. So getting yourself Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, and Anthony Belton sounds like a damn good deal to me. For the Rams at 69, I'm going after quarterback here. You can go after Beck. You can go after Nussmeier. You can go after Moss. Honestly, all of them have a relatively similar skill set. Nuss Bus has the highest ceiling. Miller Moss has, in my opinion, the most trust from me, but also Carson Beck has the highest floor. So, again, you can't go wrong. I'm going to avoid Georgia since that failed last time, and I'm going to go actually after Garrett Nussmeier. I have Miller Moss higher, but I do think everybody else will have the Nuss Bus even higher because Garrett has his pretty low moments, but the high-level play is absolutely ridiculous, and he does have better arm strength than Miller Moss, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. The Panthers have now drafted Quinn Ewers as well as edge rusher Abdul Carter. So at this pick, we are going to be going after wide receiver at a heartbeat. I ended up mentioning that I wanted to replace our wide receiver in Deontay Johnson unless we can bring him back, but Deion Burke's going to be a really cheap option for that. For the Kansas City Chiefs at 71, let's just get an actual quality backup running back here. Amarian Hampton has been absolutely dynamic. No running backs went in the second, but there's a lot of ones that should. Pick number 72 for the Houston Texans. We ended up making that big move back with the Eagles. And granted, it was for a pretty cheap deal, but I don't really know if I would have went after many of the other guys because the one person I was considering is Parker Brailsford, who's still here. And I love his wrestling background. I love his mobility. He's going to be my selection. So I ended up getting the exact same player and ended up getting a future pick. I love that. Pick 73 for the New York Jets. We've ended up going after tight end as well as edge rusher so far. I'm going to be still looking at a wide receiver. And Ty Felton could be a nasty weapon there. But I also do have to admit, this is the time to look at quarterback. And I personally love the big playmaking ability of Miller Moss. You guys know me. But Miller Moss has even pissed me off to a certain degree. So where's Miller at? Miller's at 31. But, for me, I think that Miller Moss has shown better playmaking ability as the year went on. But more inconsistency in terms of decision making. Miller Moss is going to be my selection, though, for the Jets at 73. At 74, we got the Vegas Raiders, who have Cam Ward. They also have their star running back in Ashton Jeanty. So at this selection, you kind of got those two big positions filled out. I would not be against looking at future offensive line talent. Like, I don't really think the offensive line has been doing all too well, but looking at some other positions to draft, I don't think defensive backs out of the question. Linebacker, if I'm not mistaken, multiple of your linebackers are up for contract, and Eichenberg is not doing well at all. So I'm actually going to go after a higher ceiling player here. Deontay Lawson, linebacker out of Alabama. I think this dude's a quality linebacker. He has his slip-ups here and there, but he's a very, very, very consistent linebacker in terms of the overall production of his game. He's just somebody who's a physical freak as well. Pick 75 for the Arizona Cardinals. We've already drafted defense, interior, and edge, per usual. At this point, I want to go after somebody who could be a right tackle, but potentially also be a right guard or even a left guard or even a center if you want him to. That's going to be Jonah Savania. Pick 76 for the Indianapolis Colts. We've gone after defensive back twice, one for corner, one for safety. And at this selection, I'm looking at the top tight end options available. Gunnar Helm, I mean, he's gotten significantly worse, but I'm still mad at him because of the fact that, well, the dude has kind of screwed me over from my Amari Niblack story to ascension. But I really love Jake Brenningstool. I'm surprised his drop rate's 10.5 this year because I'm pretty sure it's like 2 on his career, which is insane. But now here's a guy. I love that. But 240 pounds. I think he's actually a quality blocker as well for the size. I'm going to get him. He's a receiving threat. He runs routes like a wide receiver. I think that he's going to be a really quality addition. Pick 77 for the Niners. We've gone after edge rusher in round number 2. Did we go after a corner for the Niners? We did with Davison. I keep wanting to say Igbinosin, but Igbinosin. There you go. I actually got it this time. We're going to go after a quality offensive tackle here. Blake Miller is awesome. Johnny Cornelius is awesome. I think that Johnny's going to be more likely of a selection because of a lot of experience and also versatility. And so we're going to go after a Johnny there. At pick 78 for the Jets, we're going to be going after tackle here. This is part of that trade up. And we've gone after quarterback. We've gone after edge. We've gone after receiver. And, well, technically receiver / tight end. And now we're going to go after that right tackle spot. Kick Olu back to left tackle. And now we got our star at right. And if you want Blake Miller as a Niners fan, just swap him and a Johnny. I would take them both regardless. Pick 79 for the Commanders. We've gone after edge. We've also gone after defensive back. I think now you also could be looking in this offensive tackle group. Ernest Green, I'm surprised all these people had him as like the top tackle. Y'all know I did not like Ernest Green that much. But I do think that interior offensive line, you get someone like Jake Slaughter on the table. I think that dude's an absolute beast. But also receiving talent. And looking at the guys available, Ty Felton is kind of like going to be your more inexpensive De'Ami Brown. So you kind of get a receiver with pretty much trading away a receiver with, what was that? I'm forgetting. Jahan Dotson ended up going. Pick 80 for the Saints, ended up going after what do we do in round 2? Because in round 1, we went after a safety. And here we got Harold Fannin. Hello. So I do think edge rusher still going to be a position where you guys try to address it. And you guys like freaky builds. Shamar Stewart at 6'6", 290. Far from something you guys would be turned off by. Pick number 81. We're back with the Jets. Oh my God. We traded back twice. I forgot about that. The Jets are going off. But honestly, they could use all this help. I mean, at this point, probably not. Because I feel like I've tapped out apart from defensive interior. Defense interior, I feel like this is fair. Bear Alexander, I'm assuming is going to return. So I'm actually looking at Shamar Turner and Dante Corleone. Corleone was up at the 20% pass rush win rate. Oh my God. Shamar! And this guy's an edge rusher. I grade him as an edge rusher. I don't know why the hell they moved him to D tackle. We're going to go Dante Corleone, though. I mean, you're just getting really quality players there for the Jets. At pick 82 for the Green Bay Packers, I'm actually going to go after center here. Let's go after Jake Slaughter. I feel like that's going to be quality value. Someone who I have ranked at number 35 on my board. Pick 83 for the Los Angeles Chargers. Went after a defensive back, went after a defensive interior. Here, this is where I start feeling more comfortable at tight ends. And I think Mason Taylor after the catch is really, really solid. So I'm going to go after him. At pick number 84 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, went after receiver, went after quarterback. Let's go after that running back position. And I mean, looking at the guy who would fit this offense the best, it's Caleb Johnson. This guy's been uber consistent. Even versus Ohio State, this guy was the backbone of Iowa's offense. We're going to go after him. Pick 85 for the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to look at the quarterback room, and you got Carson Beck here of making sure that we didn't take one earlier. We got Kevin Winston as well as Emory Jones. We're going to go after Carson Beck, who honestly, getting a game manager for this offense, not a bad idea with the amount of talent you have. 86 for the Broncos. We've gone after offensive tackle, gone after receiver as well. So I think the next step would get some extra edge rushing talent. I've been kind of wanting to get Kennard in here. Kennard's a really, really good player. I do like the fact that we're focusing now on pass rush win rate because pressure-wise, he doesn't look great. But when you actually watch him, this dude's a stud. Kyle Kennard going to be the weapon there out of South Carolina to pair up with Jonah Ellis for the long run. For the Cowboys, we went after defensive interior. We've gone after wide receiver as well. We're going after, not wide receiver, excuse me. We're going to be going after running back. And, I mean, looking at the guys available, Taj Brooks is actually a really good guy down the board. I'm going to say target Jonah Coleman. And I think this dude is just an absolute beast. I love Jonah Coleman with all my heart, so I don't think that people respect this guy enough. Where's Jonah on my board? He should be visible for you guys. 46. So, I mean, again, I haven't reevaluated the running back class, but Jonah's been doing a great job there at Washington, formerly Arizona. He's someone who actually fits what Zeke should be doing, but actually has a little bit more oomph to that, a little bit more sizzle to the steak, so to speak. Pick 88 for the Buccaneers. We went after linebacker. We went after edge rusher. We might look at a weapon here at this point, look at the offensive side, but the weapon should be probably a running back. Let's go after a home run hitter because you got your one cut back already with Bucky Irving. So you got Trey Henderson, Bucky Irving there. Pick 89 for the Buffalo Bills. We went after receiver. We've gone after edge rusher as well. We've gone after, what do we do as well? Danny Stutzman, linebacker. Let's go after a defensive back because there's a lot of really good ones. Y'all know my love for Xavier Nwankpa. Let's go after Xavier Watts, though, this time because I feel like getting a ball hawk like Watts is far from a bad decision. But for the Ravens, I kind of want the other of the two. Let's get some extra rotation in that defensive back core. Xavier Nwankpa is someone who is my number 29 player in the class. Again, there's a lot of guys who could potentially be moving. Pick number 91. This is via that Matt Judon trade. And we've already gone after tackle. What else have we done for the Patriots? Let's get a quick little recap. We've gone after defensive interior. We've gone after edge rusher as well. I think tight end is the next step. And I love Mitchell Evans personally. It's just he's been so underutilized. And it hurts. It hurts me to see that. But you got Luke Lachey here. And I mean, Terrence Ferguson's good too. I mean, I can't crap on him. But if you want someone who's unique, Oronde Gadsden has been very, very solid. Like, it might not say it, but he's been the backbone there of Syracuse. I'm not going to force this for you guys. I'm not going to. Let's get some extra defensive back talent. Let's go after Jediah Barron because he's flexible in the slot, flexible on the boundary, and he's been performing unbelievably well overall. So I'm going to give him the respect he deserves. We're going to go after Jediah Barron. At pick 92 for the Lions, we went after edge rusher, we went after guard. Those are the key positions. The rest are going to be bonuses. And I'm going to look at wide receiver. Glad to see that Royals is back on the train because he ended up having a really, really good game versus Boise. But he ended up getting outshined by a guy on the other side of the field who kind of is an absolute beast. So looking at the options available, I do actually really like Kyron Lacey or Jalen Royals next. Kobe Hudson's a beast, but you can't really go wrong with either of these guys. I'm going to go after Jalen Royals because apart from this year, he had like a 70% contested catch rate on 23 targets last year. Pick 93, for the Washington Commanders. Let's go after quality offensive line talent here. And we're not going to go off of this board. We're going to go after somebody who I have to be able to update once I get the tape there. Marcus Bowe, offensive lineman out of Purdue. So we're going to use, I like Xavier Truss potentially. We're going to use Ernest Green as a placeholder for that. Technically, it's going to be a similar role, but Marcus Bowe might be kicking into guard, and he still is a right tackle. Pick number 94 for the Texans. We drafted interior defensive and offensive lines. For me, I'm going to be looking at defensive back for this team. And I actually like the idea of Castro in a roaming position, but Lathan Ransom, when healthy, is probably the best safety in the country. He just needs to remain completely healthy and within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage. Pick number 95 for the Kansas City Chiefs. We ended up drafting running back, I believe, with our last pick. So running back, offensive line, as well as defensive interior in the first of Tyleik Williams. So we've done a lot. I also do think, though, that we could try to address tackle still. We already did it once, though, with Membu. Membu, I just don't have full confidence. I do think wide receiver is not out of the question, though. When you get someone of Kyron Lacy's stature, especially with Rashee Rice's injury, it's not going to be a bad idea to have some redundancy in your receiving core, especially for as cheap as a third-round pick. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, we went after offensive line. Didn't we do it twice? My memory's failing me. I just came home after a long-ass work day, as you guys know. But we're actually going to go after receiver as well. And the options available, I'm actually still going to be sticking my neck out for Beau Collins. He also formerly Clemson. I don't think he was definitely not at the same time as Trev, but I love him. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. I mean, I just think that he's being very underutilized there, but at the same time, Notre Dame's offense is kind of a snail. Pick 97 for the Vikings. Kind of sucks that you guys fell this far. Remember, Siobhan Revell is returning in this because of his ACL. Regardless of that, you get some very, very, very physical defensive backs here. And Jason Marshall, I don't trust nearly to the degree of Quincy Riley. Jabbar Muhammad's a monster. I don't think you can go wrong here. I'm going to go after Quincy Riley. Ooh, I actually really like Tommy Hill. Tommy Hill with his ball skills is great. And so we're going to go after Tommy Hill. Pick 98 for the Dolphins. I'm actually going to go after a very flexible defensive back for you guys. And Maxwell Hairston, he actually led the SEC in interceptions the year before. Not that you need a boundary corner, but I love the flexibility that he will have at a smaller size with a very, very good mobility. Pick number 99 for the Dolphins, still on the board. I do like the fact that we've addressed guard as well as defensive interior. The trenches are chill. Now let's look at quarterback as well. To be fair, man, it does drop off a cliff, doesn't it? I like Dylan Gabriel, but there's no way you're going to draft sub-6-foot quarterbacks on day 2. Let's just hold off. I mean, you could go Jackson Dart here, and you'll be perfectly in the right. But let's also look at receiver and see if anybody else is like really solid after the catch. Actually, you know what? I really like Jimmy Horn Jr. I don't mind this kid at all. You know what? Let's test it out. Let's test out that theory. Let's go Jimmy Horn Jr. here out of Colorado. Flexible, exciting, bursty after the catch. He's going to be someone that you can end up incorporating with all the other receivers you got last year. Pick number 100 for the Rams. I'm going to go after a linebacker at this point because it feels like a very Rams thing to do. Go a good linebacker at the end of the third, and that's Jack Kaiser. And at 101 for the San Francisco 49ers. Looking at the players who are still left, I mean, it's honestly quite depleted. Do I end off on a player that I really like that I'd have to use a placeholder for? I kind of want to. I kind of do. Oof, we're actually going to move up with the Bears. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but we ended up getting a lot of really good draft capital with the Bears. And we're going to end up actually using potentially a future 5th round pick, and we're going to get pick 249 in return. How about that? Again, people are going to be like, oh, why did you do this? Remember, future draft capital is not included. But what we are going to be doing is actually drafting a player who is not on this list, but he's at my number 49 spot. Darius Washington, technically the left tackle, but actually a former center for Florida State. One of the few guys who actually does a good job. We're going to actually let Clay Webb be the choice here, even though I believe Clay Webb has played center. So maybe we'll give him a little ADP boost. But it's going to be my number 49 player, Darius Washington. We have eventually ended up addressing the offensive line 3 times, but I don't feel like we did it too much. It's honestly an offensive line that needs that help, and center especially is a position that's relatively weaker in this free agency class. But that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. See you on the far side. Peace.